And you see the mountains.
Snow-capped until midsummer, sharp-edged against the sky.
Or swirled in clouds that pour down the sides of the ridges like mist in a Japanese print.
And there's always water. Water out of the sky.
Down from the mountains, glacier cold.
Rushing down into the valley floor, into lakes and rivers of the Columbia. And so, into the sea.
Mountains, water, and trees.
Hemlock, cedar, spruce, pine, fir.
Cottonwoods along the lake, smelling in the spring like balm of Gilead.
Larch, poplar, and white lawns of birch.
Eagles, hummingbirds, grizzlies in the hills.
Deer at the edges of the clearing.
Fat trout and salmon in the lakes.
Weasels, squirrels, duck, elk, and cougar.
And peak.
The people of the water, the Kootenai Indians, traveled west from the prairies and settled along the waterways and roamed up and down the valleys with the seasons. And when the long dark winter descended, they told stories.
One day, Raven discovered that Daylight Man kept Daylight in a small box in the corner of his hat. Daylight Man also had a young daughter who was just coming into puberty and was kept in the hut and watched constantly. To get into the hut, Raven changed himself into a small leaf and floated down upon the water that was given to the girl to drink. She drank the water, and in 9 months a baby boy was born, who was Raven. The grandfather, Daylight Man, grew to love the boy and would do anything to please him. The boy cried and cried until he was given the sun and moon and stars to play with. He would soon grow tired of them and put them back in their box. Then he cried to play with Daylight. This made the old man very nervous, but finally he did as the boy wished. One day, the boy decided he was strong enough to cast off the daylight. And since the daylight was chief of all the things, the sun and moon and stars would follow. So he cast the daylight to the north, the sun to the south, the moon to the east, and the stars to the west, saying, now all of mankind shall have daylight, not just one.
Gold!
Gold!
Camber Strike 1860.
Gold!
Wild Horse Creek 1864.
Gold!
When I get my strike, I'm gonna clunk.
Clunk,
When I get my strike, I'm gonna clunk,
clunk,
clink.
clink.
I hear a clink there, Jake. You got a clink?
He hit a big one, boy? Oh, look at that, Jake. You're gonna be rich. That's gold.
Well, look at that. I'm standing on a gold mine. I'm going to be rich. San Francisco, here I come. $50 suits, champagne, dancing girls. So,
Wait a minute, Jake. This here ain't no gold. This here's galena. It's got silver, lead, and zinc. But you gotta bring a lot of men and machinery to bring that out. Then you gotta take it down to Spokane Falls to the smelt.
you mean I ain't going to get rich?
Now, I didn't say that.
We're just gonna have to work at it.
And work hard, Jake.
Now, goddamn, ain't that the Kootenays all over?
What do we have here? Why, that looks like silver. Looks like you're onto something good. Yes, sir. My name is Phineas P. Fogmoon. I represent some very important investment corporations in the eastern United States. Your good neighbor to the south. And I'm here to make your lot just a little easier. Now, I'll tell you what I'll do right now. I'll give you $10,000 for that little claim. right now. What do you say to that?
No. That is to say, no. That is, no, thank you very much.
Well, there's a lot more claims in this area. I'm a busy man.
Well, wait a minute. I'm sure we can work out something. Say, 15,000, not a penny less.
I'd like to help you out, but I have some backers that I have to answer to. You understand? But I'll tell you what I can do. I'll give you, $12,500, and you know what that means. You can be in California in a week, and you know what that means? It's warm there.
Yeah.
Ah, smart man. I knew that immediately. Ah, there you are. That's for you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, now all we need is a little bit of dynamite.
The year was 1889. The news of the discovery at Toad Mountain burned through the financial wires of the world. Thousands of men poured in, and 35 towns sprang up overnight.
I hear you got a job for the mine, right?
Sure do.
$3 a day?
6 days a week, 10 hours a day, $3 a day. Sign right here.
Ooh-wee! I'm gonna have an adventure. A real adventure. I'm a miner.
How you like your first day on the job, Roy?
First day about mine, boy.
Great!
Great.
He thinks it's great.
I'm a miner, working at the mine, living in the bunkhouse,
Living in the bunkhouse.
the Rams pasture.
The Rams.
Pasture.
Now I know why you guys call the top floor of this place the Rams pasture. Why, there must be 50 guys living up here. 2 rows of bunks, 1 walk between,
And a window at each end.
where you can see everything for miles around. It's an adventure.
It's a job.
I'm tired.
And the best part of the morning,
The best part?
is a belly full of pancakes, eggs, and coffee.
Oh, yeah, you get to feeling good again.
And it's off to work in the mountains for $3 a day.
It's an adventure.
It's a job.
I'm tired.
Hey, are you gonna go mucking in that same hole today?
Oh, that kid needs to talk to. He's got to learn the language.
You're gonna be a miner, boy. You've got to know the language. The language of the miners. You've got to know the words.
A tunnel through the mountain is an adit.
An adage. When following the vein, you work the stone.
Work the stone. Digging out the muck.
You use a muck stick.
A muck stick.
And a raise that's nearly flat is called a slope.
Called a slope.
A car is pulled along a rail. A cart has wooden wheels, the oar's a tow.
When ore's underground,
It's in a vein.
and a vein that's at your feet's a piece of float.
A piece of float. Tunnelism,
Hey,
Vein path is a
stope,
shovelism,
muck stick,
flat race is a
slope, tunnel, adit, vein path, stope.
shovel, muck stick, flat race slope. Muck plate wins, car cart rope. Hang wall, double jack, follow the float. Follow the float. Follow the float. Follow the float. Follow the float.
Follow the float to the motherlode.
sure had a hell of a good time.
Well, back to work in the mines, I guess, then.
I guess.
49er,
49er,
Bluebell,
Bluebell,
Molly Hughes, Red and White,
Red and White,
American Dream,
American Dream,
Lucky Lady,
Lucky Lady,
Bluebell,
Bluebell,
Lemon Tree,
Lemon Tree,
American Dream.
American Dream.
Boys, when you finish your daily toil and you want to work off some of that excess energy, why don't you pay one of my fine establishments in Nelson a visit?
Nelson is a very refined town. We have trolley cars, electricity, and the most refined whiskey in the country. Come to Nelson. Nelson's not a boomtown. Nelson's here to stay.
Yeah! And if you want something with a little class, come on up to Sandon.
Sandon is the second largest city in BC, boys. We have fancy restaurants, fine hotels, and potted palms. You all come up and see me sometime in Sandon now.
Yeah!
And if you want something on the wild side, pay Wild Horse a visit.
Wild horses, loose and wild, boys. You won't find much refinement here, but we got liquor flowing like water. So what if we're only 6 weeks old? You just watch us grow. And for some real fine entertainment, come on down to the music hall, where we got a revolving stage and the main attractions. Charlie Hanson's trained bear.
What's he trained to do?
Never mind, son, you're not old enough.
Nelson's not a boomtown. Nelson's here to stay.
Oranges and pineapples all the way from Florida.
Sandy's not a boomtown. Sandy's here to stay.
Champagne and chandeliers.
Wild Horse not a boomtown. Wild Horse is here to stay.
Revolving stages and dancing bears.
Nelson's not a boomtown. Nelson's here to stay.
Electricity.
Sandon's not a boomtown. Sandon's here to stay.
Oranges and pineapples all the way from Florida.
Wild Horse is not a boomtown. Wild Horse is here to stay.
Champagne.
Telegram!
Silver crashes in Spokane. Oh my God! Silver crashes in Spokane.
Silver crashes.
This ain't no place for a smart fella. I'm going home.
Time to leave.
Time to leave. Time to leave.
Time to leave.
Who, me? I'm not going anywhere. Why should I? See, I have this hotel. Potted palms, beautiful chandeliers, good silver. And I've said to myself, there's plenty of ore in those hills. Lead, zinc, silver, gold. Maybe some stuff we've never even heard of yet. They'll be back. Just sit tight. They'll be back. Besides, there's lots of different things happening now. Lots of different people moving in. Farmers, fruit growers, homesteaders, loggers.
The early days of BC lottery in the Lotto Valley of Disney, in the woods that along the Jackson waters, coconut teamsters and farmers, taking out sea green head around. all the valley of the Coolies, taking us secrets long and fine. Send us out on the water on the sea beyond the line.
The prospectors, miners, and loggers may have opened up the country, but it was the rivermen who made it work. Because the rivers and lakes were the highways then, running north and south from the Kootenai mines down to the smelters in Washington, Idaho. There was plenty of adventure on the rivers and lakes in those days, and plenty of men with the steamboats and barges. Men mostly forgotten now. For instance, Three-Fingered Frank.
Best damn boatman on the whole Columbia. Only having 2 fingers on his left hand.
Wonder why they call him Three-Fingered Frank.
I guess they named him after the ones he lost.
He was alone, was Frank, and unlike the rest of the other guys, Frank never liked to work with partners.
He was a nervous guy, but he was smart on his feet and quick in thinking and acting,
He had a rough, rugged face.
But he had a soft, attractive smile.
which he knew how to use in a pinch.
He was always one step ahead of the law.
He wasn't all bad, though. He'd give you anything he had.
Although generally it did not belong to him.
He was a gunman.
Though nobody ever saw him use a gun to any harm.
The boys had seen him practice with it,
The best damn boatman on the whole Columbia.
and honest day's work did not appeal to him.
Because the poker table was his home.
And he never backed down on a bet.
His territory ranged from Revelstoke to Spokane.
It was Northport. The boys were making camp.
The camp was in a birch grove, just up the river from the Dalles.
Ike was splitting wood while Joe was cooking pork and beans. Or was it beans and pork? And Pete, he just put biscuits on. Can't make bannock on a cook stove. When the conversation rolled around to Three-Fingered Frank.
And then Pete says, I remember when Frank was driving cattle from the Okanagan to Purdue's butcher shop in Robson. And in order to get them there, he had to cross the Columbia River. And not only that, he had to cross in the quarter-mile stretch. Otherwise, he and all those cattle would wind up in the Kootenai Rapids, which was no place to be. So Frank, he gets them in, and he gets moving, and all of a sudden, he sees trouble. A big white face heading downstream. Well, Frank, he takes out his gun. He stands back, he aims, and he fires. He just grazes the downstream side of that critter's neck. Well, that critter, he hightails it, swings around upstream as fast as he can go. Everybody else behind him, too. That Frank sure was good with a gun.
He was. And there was that time when Frank was borrowing a few things about town. Well, Sheriff Jack Kirkup, he was determined to round him up this time, so he went out to where Frank was camped. Couldn't find hide nor hair of him. All he did find was a note that said, Dear Jack, sorry to leave so soon. Called away on urgent business. Love, Frank. He was always one step ahead of the law.
Now, he tells about that time. Frank saved the life of his fellow Jimmy the Goat up on the Arrow Lake. Well, Jimmy, he'd been drinking down in Nelson. He got it into his head to walk all the way to Revelstoke. There weren't but 4 houses between Nelson and Revelstoke in those days. So by the time Frank came around, well, Jimmy was in pretty bad shape. Frank gets him on this raft he's got all rigged together. They start out across the lake. And this big storm heads up. Well, Frank's got his hands full just trying to keep the raft from going under. And there's Jimmy, lying there with his head in the water. Well, Frank gives him a kick and he says, I always thought you Irish were gritted, fellas. You're nothing but a no good quitter. Well, Jimmy pulls his head out of the water and says, I ain't no quitter. I'll stick with you, Frank. I'll stick with you. Saved his life, Frank did. Sure was handy to have around when a fellow was a pinch.
You bet.
So there they were, fixing camp.
Splitting wood.
Cooking beans.
When speak of the devil, all of a sudden, there stood Frank. Hey, you Protestant pups, come on down to the hotel and have a drink with me. You look so dry, you catch fire. It's catching fire.
Well, so they
All repaired to the bar.
Well, first night, he bought
And Joe says,
Smashed my barge to Matchstick, same place last year. They all agreed. You're lucky to get a big boat through the Dallies.
but not even an Indian could make it through with a canoe.
And Frank says,
Talk about your Dallies, boy. You see, can't get through in a small canoe. Well, I say, me and my 12-foot dugout canoe can.
well, partner, I hate to contradict you,
Joe says,
but I know for certain that you or no man can get through those Dallies alive.
You know?
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah!
Yeah?
Yeah!
Why don't you put your money where your mouth is?
Partner, I hate to separate a man from his money, but I got $50 here that says you can't.
And I'll bet you everything I got. I can!
You got a bet.
You're on!
A hush fell over the room. It was so damn quiet you could hear the mice in the sawdust.
Frank jams on his hat and heads for the door. All the boys yelling after him.
Frank! Don't be a fool!
Don't give up your life on a bet! But he kept on going, out the door,
Down the path.
across the rocks to his boat.
The boys chased after him, hoping to stop him,
But he would not return. He grabbed his paddle, jumped in his canoe, and he was off.
The boys, seeing there was nothing more to be done, ran up the path to the rocks, high above water. And there, far below, they saw the Dallies. All the water of the Kootenai,
All the water of the Pond O'Reilly,
Of the Lardo,
Lardo,
of the Duncan,
Duncan,
of the Slocan,
Slocan,
Locan.
of the whole Columbia.
Shoots through the canyon like racing down a flume.
Whirlpool.
And there a whirlpool opens and fills, and opens, and fills, and opens.
almost all of the water seems to come into this giant hole and race around at an awful speed.
The hole got smaller and smaller, and the smaller it got, the faster the water raced. The water raced around, until it spun like a top, like a top, like a top. Then, with the force of the Columbia, of the Kootenai, with the force of the mountains, with a tremendous roar, the water boiled to the top like a pot boiling over, shooting in all directions.
Whoosh! They watched the racing, foaming, boiling water as the whirlpool got wider and wider and wider.
And there was Frank,
He was within 100 feet of it, trying to time it.
trying to stay out of that monstrous hole.
Backpedaling, for all he was worth. He dug his paddle deep ahead and shot over it. He made it! He made it!
No Indian could have handled his paddle better.
He was standing up the boat, waving his hat to the boys in the bluff. The boys were jumping and shouting behind. Even old Joe was jumping up and down.
Let's go back to the hotel, boys!
His son Frank.
Good old Frank.
And suddenly, Pete says, "Hey, wait a minute. He's drifting upstream." And then the whirlpool began to open with a roar that made them feel cold and lonesome.
They shouted at him, for the roar of the river was greater than any noise they could make.
They made all kinds of motions, but he was too busy waving his hat until the monster whirlpool began to turn his canoe around.
Then he saw. He grabbed his paddle. His eyes bulged out. The fear of death on his face. In a moment, the canoe was upended.
And he was spinning
Spinning around,
And around. And he clutched the rope on the bow of the canoe
as it stood up on end.
and went down.
They all stared to see if it was true. Pete turned his back from the boys and pulled a handkerchief from his pocket. He was crying. Joe didn't turn away to hide the tears in his eyes. And they all knew they'd never forget. Three-fingered Frank.
My name is Edward Picard. I live a long, long time in the Kootenays. Always close to the Columbia River. I know every rapid, every whirlpool, every town, every ferry all along its banks. And I remember the olden days and the many, many people who lived and worked and laughed and died in these mountains. You know, the mystery of the Kootenays is not that old, maybe 100 years by us white folk. Of course, the Kootenai Indian who gave his name to this place, he's here a long, long time before. We don't know too much about him, but we do know that he was a damn good boatman. Oh, yes, I see so many people come over that river, bringing their dreams to test them against the Canadian winter. Many of them moved on. Some of them stayed. And they left a mark all over these valleys.
England, England, England,
London, London, London.
Hurry up, Emily, you'll be late.
I'm nearly ready, Mummy.
Don't dawdle, Emily.
Oh, Emily, it's so exciting. You're going all the way across the ocean to Canada.
You will come and visit.
Well, Mummy, may I?
Stop fussing, Gwendolyn, you'll make your sister.
Oh, we'll have a party in your honor, and I'll wear my new green velvet. Charles says we can have a fountain. He says there's plenty of water in the Kootenays.
Will you have swans?
Swans.
I shall miss you.
I'll write every day.
Emily, we must go. The carriage is waiting.
Emily, Charles, I beg you to reconsider. Charles, I'm sure Daddy can find you a lovely place in the bank. You don't have to go all the way to Canada.
Mother, you know how important this is to us and to England. We're taking our culture and civilization with us. It's an English outpost, after all.
It's just that I shall worry about Emily. She wasn't brought up to be shipped off to a colony. She's delicate, a little jewel.
Oh, Mother, our chances of prosperity are excellent in the Kootenays. I have it on the best of authority that the Kootenai area of BC will become one of the finest fruit-growing regions in the world, and we will be a part of it.
Yes, Mommy, do give us your blessing before we go.
Of course, I give you my blessing. Take care of her, Charles.
I will.
I shall worry.
Bye.
Pleasant journey.
Cross the beautiful sea. You and me, oh how happy we will be. Cross the sea, cross the sea, cross the beautiful sea. You and me, oh how happy we will
Canada,
Quebec,
Ontario,
Manitoba,
Saskatchewan,
Alberta,
British Columbia, British Columbia.
Arrowhead, end of the line.
Oh, Charles, not this, not the mud.
Oh, may I help you?
My good man, I wonder if you could tell me where I might find a Mr. Sweeney. He's in charge of building our house.
Sweeney. That's Sweeney. Yeah, he hang around the bar down there at the Victoria Hotel.
Excuse me, Emily.
I wonder if you might tell us how much further we need to travel to reach Edge of the Wood.
Edge of the wood?
Yes?
This is Hedgewood.
No. I don't believe you understood me. I mean Edge of the Wood. It's the largest shipping and commercial center in the region.
Lady, I travel up and down this river many years, and this is the only Hedgewood I know.
There would be shops, hotels, houses.
You see that log place there? That's the New Hume Hotel. You see that big tent next to it? That's the restaurant out the mini there, and the other big tent there. That's the dress shop and the hardware store and that shack. That's with some sport there.
That's a hotel. This is Edge of the Wood.
Hedge of wood.
Not much edge.
Lady, how long are you staying here?
Oh, forever. We're going to grow apples.
Oh, you grow apple in England.
Well, no, but we've read all about it in Mr. Bealby's pamphlets. Why, my husband, Mr. Huntington, is quite an expert. As soon as the land is cleared, we'll plant the orchard. We'll have apples in the fall.
You know, about 7 years ago, another English family, they come here to grow the apple. They do okay, you know. The apple, they grow. They get an allowance from their father in England, but maybe you meet them. The name Walmsley Smith.
Walmsley Smith. Oh, we're to be their new neighbors. Perhaps you can tell me where their home is.
Certainly. You see the point there? Not the first point, the second point with the little plume of smoke there. That's Walmsley Smith.
Oh. Oh, my.
Hello there.
Oh, Charles!
Emily, I've just seen Mr. Sweeney. He's a most delightfully charming chap. He told me the workmen have already cleared those giant trees out of the orchard and are ready to start planting the orchard. Incidentally, he told me there's no small value in those trees they cut down in themselves. Also, Emily, there was a letter from the Walmsley Smiths, and they've invited us to stay with them until we get settled. And Emily, they're having a polo match this weekend. Mr. Sweeney tells me the house is coming along excellent. He says the logs are already over the second story, and the windows in the dining room look out over the whole rest of the lake.
Charles, are you telling me the house is not finished?
Well, the fireplace is all completed. It's 5 feet high and 10 feet long.
Charles, the house is not finished, is it?
No, Emily.
But the piano, Charles, our piano is lying out there on the beach, and our entire libraries and packing crates and the silver will be ruined.
Emily, I will take care of everything.
Excuse me, I don't mean to be overhearing, but maybe I could take the library and the piano and put it in that little shack there.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, my good man.
You're welcome to the cookies.
There you see, Emily. Oh, well, would you be good enough to ferry us across the lake to the Walmsley Smiths?
Certainly, sir.
But Charles, it's a dreadfully long way. It's clear across the other end of the lake.
Excellent. We'll be in time for tea.
Tea. Could we have tea?
May I help?
No, thank you. I can manage. Clear the land, clear the land. Cut the trees, cut the trees. Pull the stumps, pull the stumps. Oh, how happy we'll be.
Dig the holes, dig the holes.
Plant the trees, plant the trees. Prune the trees, prune the trees. Oh, how happy we'll be.
Dig the holes, dig the holes.
Plant the trees, plant the trees.
Prune the trees, prune the trees.
Oh, how happy we'll be.
Grow apples, grow rich, 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 grow apples, grow rich.
Pick the fruit, sort the fruit,
Pack the fruit, ship the fruit.
pick the fruit,
Sort the fruit, pack the fruit, ship the fruit.
Pick the fruit, sort the fruit, pack the fruit, ship the fruit. Pick the fruit, sort the fruit, pack the fruit, ship the fruit. Oh, how happy we'll be. Oh, Isabel, how nice to see you. Look, I've laid the things out here in the garden for tea.
It's lovely, Emily. So like before the war.
Do you remember the last party we had here? It was to celebrate your winning the prize for the Cox Orange Pippin.
A lovely party.
Emily,
Daisy!
so good to see you. I missed you at the Bucks party the other night. It's a grand affair. A whole orchestra all the way up from Spokane. Oh, and they played that new music. The ragtime music? I think I've got it. Come on along, Alexander.
Daisy? our nearest neighbor.
Well, with Charles away at the war and almost no help for the ranch, it's all one can do to keep going.
Say no more, I understand. At least I have Daisy to help me with the ranch. Well, the men are bravely fighting the Kaiser. We must keep the home fires burning.
Oh, Emily, have you heard from Charles yet?
Why, yes, just yesterday a letter came on the paddle wheel. Daisy, you haven't heard from your father yet.
No, Emily, it's been 3 weeks now. But Aunt Isabel says not to worry, that the Walmsley Smiths have always been good officers. But I do worry.
Yoo-hoo, Emily, yoo-hoo. Oh, what was that?
That's Gertrude Pruitt Jones. Daisy, I don't believe you've met her. You were away at school when she bought the ranch at Deer Park.
Hello, Emily. How are you?
Very well.
Oh, and who might this be?
This is Daisy Walmsley Smith.
Of course. You're home from school because of the war, aren't you, Belle? How do you do? I'm Gertrude Pruitt Jones. I've just got the next ranch over in Deer Park. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too, Mrs. Pruitt Jones.
Oh, Miss. Daisy, Miss, but do call me Gertrude, won't you? Thank you.
I didn't see your boats on the launch when we arrived.
Oh, no, I walked.
Walked? Oh, that must be 7 miles overland.
Oh, yes, but walking is good for the Constitution. Isabel, you ought to take up walking. Isabel, you should get out of those courses.
Shall we have tea?
My, look at those lovely tarts.
Oh, Isabel, do see if you can guess what kind of apples I've used in these tarts.
Well, I'm awfully good at this, you know.
I know, my dear, that's why I made this test for you.
Now, you wouldn't try and fool me and use 2 varieties, would you?
Oh, no, 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 I assure you, it's quite above board.
It is a good cooking apple because it has retained its firmness in the baking. Oh, perhaps it is a wealthy. Oh, and perhaps not. It is a Gravenstein.
Oh, it is a Gravenstein. You're so clever. One can never fool you.
If there's one thing I've learned in Canada, it's apples.
I hope you don't mind the tea.
Oh, no, dear, it's lovely, just lovely.
The aroma seems to be a relief when the war is over and we can buy our tea from Harrods again.
Well, you should try drinking coffee, Isabel. It's ever so much more available coming from Brazil as it does. The Americans drink it all the time.
Personally, I can't account for Americans' taste. Emily, my dear, do you miss your visits to London as much as I? Oh, the walks in Hyde Park.
The concerts.
Oh, the theatre.
Do you remember this one? When you come to the end of a perfect day and you sit all alone with your thoughts, and the chimes ring out with the carol gay for the joy that the day has brought. Can you think what the end of a perfect day can mean to a tired heart? And the sun goes down with a flaming ray and the dear friends have to part.
Oh, I do wish I was in London this very minute.
As for me, I'm glad to be back in Canada. I never liked London very much. I found it stuffy, downright stuffy. You know, sometimes I thought it was necessary to go outside and climb a tree.
Daisy, you may be Canadian born, but you're a British subject and a lady.
Auntie Isabel, the school has given me special dispensation to climb trees because I'm Canadian. At any rate, I shan't be going back there after the war. When Father comes home, I plan to ask him if I might go to business college and become a typewriter.
A typewriter? A typewriter indeed. Your father will approve no such thing. Those women paint their faces. They smoke cigarettes.
Oh, Isabel, don't be such an old stuff. Women can't be sitting around forever in corsets drinking tea. Well, the times are changing. What Canada needs now is strong and independent women.
Oh, she's right, Auntie Isabel. Why, you've been running Daddy's ranch for a year now. You too, Emily.
Well, it is true, Isabel. Why, you and I have learned a few things about hard work and management since the men left for the war. And just last year, you won the prize for your coxswain Pippin at the London judging.
Well, really, that must be quite a feather in your cap, Isabel.
A feather in the cap of the Kootenays, my dear, when we can compete with the very best London has to offer.
Oh, speaking of competition, wait till you see what I have to show you. This is what science has developed in the Okanagan Valley.
Oh, my.
That, if I'm not mistaken, is the appropriately misnamed red delicious apple. What, pray, is the advantage of developing an apple the size of a Hubbard squash when it has the taste and texture of cold cooked porridge?
I'll tell you the advantage, my dear. These apples mature early and keep well. Unlike other apples which rot in their crates waiting for shipping space on trains that are here only to bring ore from the mines. Moreover, they're popular on the American as well as the Canadian market. I intend to plant a whole orchard of them as soon as stock becomes available.
Rubbish.
Isabel, I do think we
You should not have the responsibility to maintain the standards, the quality that is appreciated in the mother country.
Isabel, we shall have to change or we shall go under.
But what will become of the transparent apple? Oh, the northern spy, the russet, the beacon, the Baldwin. Oh, the Cox orange pippin.
People worked hard in the orchards. They did it all themselves, from picking the fruit, to packing it, to shipping it off to the English markets. But for a little girl, August was the best month. There were picnics, parades, croquet games, and rides up and down Kootenai Lake on the paddle wheeler.
Oh, I love the paddle wheeler. Well, look, it's a Stewart place. Willie Stewart and his mom run that whole orchard all by themselves. The best thing to go prospecting, but Willie thinks she's too old. Last week she wanted to go work her claims, and Willie hid her horses on her. They had a terrible row right down there on the dock. Good morning! That's Daisy and her Aunt Isabel. They're not even stopping long enough to say hello. How come nobody's got time for me today? Well, there's Colonel Parker. He'll have time. Grandma and me are going to have breakfast with him later on. Breakfast on the Nisukin is the best treat. We get tea in a silver teapot and real linen table napkins. Hot buttered scones with strawberry jam. Colonel Parker pulls up my chair, calls me Miss Fisher. Grammy says all those people from Queens Bay are stuck up. But I don't think so. At least not Colonel Parker. He's sort of fat, and he's president of the fruit board. I'm going to have breakfast with him. Cross the sea, cross the sea, cross the distant sea. You and me, across the sea. You stand right here. You can get the breeze from the paddle wheel. You don't even get wet in the spray. That wheel is as big as a house. Goes around and around and around. And if you fell in, you'd be really sorry. Oh, they've got a white flag at Willow Point. Gee, everybody's up today. There's Tommy and Gilbert Palmer, and Mr. Harrison, and even Mrs. Harrison. Well, they're all coming down on the beach to meet the boat. We're not even stopping long enough to throw off the gangplank, just tossing the newspapers. They're all crowding around Mr. Harrison. They're all reading the newspaper. So there goes Willie Stewart. Hello, Will. Not even stopping long enough to wave. How come nobody's got time for me today? White flag at Potter's Bay, white flag at Balfour, Greendale, Mirror Lake, Ainsworth, last stop, Haslow.
Willie Stewart. He was my first big crush. He never said very much, but he had kind eyes and a slow smile that made me feel special. I used to dream that, oh, but it was a young girl's dream.
I wonder where all the kids are. Always lots of kids to play from Caslow. We never stayed here this long. It's hot. I want to go home. Hey, that's where all the kids are. They're having a parade. All the men are dressed up in their uniforms, when the kids are running alongside. They got a band. Boy, this is just like Victoria Day. But when they're coming down here, they're getting on the paddle wheel. All the men are getting on. Well, goodbye. Goodbye, favorite time of day. The sky and the water are the same color. And Granddad just lit the electric light. I've seen what this boat looks like when it goes by at night. It's like floating birthday cake. This is even better than Jennifer's birthday party. Bonfire at Flood. Bonfire at Potter's Bay. 6 Mile. Russell. Well, there's Willie saying goodbye to his mom. Bill cried as his Stewart. Everyone else is so happy. Hey, we're almost to Nelson. We're almost to Nelson, everybody. This has been the best day of my life. Must be really late. I'm not tired at all, though. I'm going to stay awake until we get to Nelson. Granddad's going to be so proud of me. Oh, we're in Nelson. All the men are getting off. There go the Barnes brothers. Goodbye, Colonel Parker, Major Morris, and Dexter, Alice, Kerr. Goodbye, and Willie Stewart. Bye, Willie.
Many men left their orchards that day, August 4th, 1914. Over the next weeks and months, many more made that long journey down Kootenai Lake by paddle wheeler. The last few picked their way down the mountain by lamplight, and there was no one to see them all. And of all who left, only 4 returned. Commander Cooker, he'd been torpedoed 3 times during the war, came back fit as a fiddle, and he was dead within 3 months. Cliff Webb came back to his wife and orchard, committed suicide a week later. Treby Hill came back to Caslow to teach music. I don't know if he's still alive or not.
So, could you ferry me across the lake to the Huntington Ranch?
Yeah, just 1 minute. Major Huntington.
Edward Picard.
You must be back from the war. I didn't know you was back yet.
I haven't yet been home.
You haven't been home. Come, get in the boat. I take you there now. Good to be home, eh?
No, I can't believe it's still the same.
Well, these old mountains, they never change. The water goes by, the apples grow, they don't grow.
Oh, look at the geese.
Oh, yeah. Last week we had some snow on the mountain. Damn it, I got to get the wood in pretty soon. By the way, anybody else come back with you that I know?
Treby Hill from Caslow.
I don't think I know him.
Commander Cook Pearl.
Oh, from Nelson.
Yes. And Cliff Webb.
Ah, Cliff is back in the Cosby.
Right.
Who else?
That's all.
Walmsley Smith. What about Walmsley Smith?
No.
Major Morris? Willie Stewart?
No. No one else, Edward.
You mean they all dead? You're Emily. You know, you coming?
No.
She's changed. Not soft and delicate like before the war. You know, the women, they work hard when the men are away. She's strong. Strong woman. You know, I don't twist arms with her, even with two good arms. So, be careful. Welcome back to the crew.
Thank you, Edward.
I'm glad you made it back home.
I'm glad you didn't go.
It was the end of an era. The British dreams of civilizing the world were gone. The men who went to fight the Kaiser were gone. The dreams of having the finest fruit-growing region in the world were gone. But before World War I, new people came to the Kootenays, Russian immigrants who had strong ideas of their own.
Nellie! Where the hell is that kid with the manure?
I don't know, I don't see him.
Promised that would be here yesterday.
That's what he told me before. I don't know why he's not here.
Probably goofing off. That's what the trouble is with kids these days. They're either lazy or they're goofing off.
Not like it was when we were kids, eh?
No.
And all we did was work.
From early to late. Straight work. We cut the fields by hand with a scythe. We cut them clean.
Nowadays, everybody.
You know what the trouble was now? We didn't have no education.
No, we didn't have no education. But look at all that got done. You know, most of the fields in this valley were cleared by Doukhobor hands.
I know that.
Speaking of Doukhobor hands, when are yours going to do the strawberries?
Strawberries.
Right, the strawberries.
You remember when we didn't have no
Of
strawberries?
course I remember.
And Fred...
Stuchny.
Fred Stuchny. He's busy with his work. And he says, you people, you haven't got no strawberries. Strawberries? Of course not. We're busy clearing the fields. We haven't had time to plant them yet. He says, we've got nice strawberries. Why don't you go into the garden and then pick from as many as you can? Then he says, take a few home.
Nowadays, a person won't do that.
No.
A person has nice strawberries. He says, hey, maybe I sell a pound or two. I'll make a buck.
Yeah, they don't do that nowadays.
No, not now.
Yeah, money is the root of all evil. The person gets a few
He
dollars.
starts changing.
Yes, you can't live without it. And
Now, each one has his own
Yeah,
things.
he got his own car.
And each one thinks he's better.
Well, money does a funny thing to people's heads. When they're poor, they're happy.
They're working together. There's a future they're trying to build.
You remember we had the jam factory in Berlin?
Brilliant.
And the sawmill in Urushin?
It's a shame, yeah.
It all went back into the community. It was all run on trust. You can't do that nowadays.
No, not now. Oh, I don't know.
You know, the communal way was a good way. In this country, our people, they could go far as a group. With all that money going into one kitty, it's going to grow.
They were going to
Make it.
I don't know.
Ah, well, you know, how are you going to make a community work?
Oh, no, the government says each one must have his place. This is yours. This.
This is mine, and this is mine. Then the government comes and they take the children to school and they teach them war and competition.
When the government left us alone, those were the good days. In the community, those were the best times.
They were not always. You remember when I worked in the mines? You remember that? That was not a good time. That was a bad time. Oh, no good. Not good, it was bad. Oof. I would go down for a beer after work, and they would call me down. Goddamn dirty Duke. Yeah, there'd be blood pouring all over the sidewalk. That was bad. Goddamn dirty Duke and blood on the sidewalk? Huh. That was a bad time. That wasn't living. That was terrible.
You know you have to stick with your own people. What else are you going to do?
Yeah. And you go for a job. And they ask you, what's your nationality? Are you a Duke? And if you say yes, they're not going to give you the job. No, only if they're stuck. And there was a hell of a lot of discrimination. It was bad. It was unbelievable.
It was terrible.
Oh, yes. And the kids, when they took those kids to the public school.
You mean those New Denver Sons of Freedom children? They put no Sons of Freedom school.
No, not that.
That was no school. That was a concentration camp.
Oh, it was bad.
That was a concentration camp.
We were there.
We saw.
Yeah.
The parents would come out for the weekend, bring a picnic basket lunch.
They had the, you know that big wire mesh fence?
That fence is there today.
It's still there. It's still there. And you know that bunch that tried to burn down the Passmore home in Amy Marco's place. Some of those people were in that concentration camp when they were kids.
That's true. You know, they took those kids by force.
By force?
They kept those kids by force. Do you know they hunted those kids with dogs?
The dogs.
Those kids were innocent.
Yeah. Big steel gates. Yeah.
The children went to the school behind the gates, but not the ones that did what they were told. They went to the public schools.
Oh, the goody goods. They went to the public school. Ah.
Well, it's all different now. It's all changed. We've all got a car and a new color television. It's all changed. We're all mixed together now.
Yeah, now we just live. Now we're just.
We just
Just
live.
live.
In the Kootenays,
You look up.
And see the mountains. Snow-capped, jagged against the sky.
mountains,
Water. Trees. Eagles. Hummingbirds. Grizzlies.
Fat trout and salmon.
And people.
water,
People.
You have days of peace and of room in the heart of our Kootenai. In the woods with lumberjacks and loggers, Jokerman, teamsters and ballers.
and lobster.